Day 7,000 of wondering when everyone's gonna realize that Italians are racist as fuck. They're disgustingly racist. The sky is blue, the ground is green, and Italians are racist.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome to my channel. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back once again. So my usual disclaimer, please, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Do not go searching out anybody that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate, comment, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So I came across this video that was made late last year by this black man, and I'm just going to go right ahead and play his video.
A lot of y'all have experienced racism, but most of y'all haven't experienced level 9 advanced racism. I'm in a club in Italy walking inside of an elevator. As soon as I step inside, this promoter, she was a woman, puts her full palm on my chest and stiff arms my black ass outside that elevator. And I'm a pretty big guy. You know how much force she had to put in that bitch to throw me out of the elevator? I'm looking inside the elevator and she has the biggest customer service ass smile I've ever seen in my life. Like she was doing my ass a favor. A thing that a lot of people don't realize is that Africans in most European countries are treated like shit. But the thing that she didn't realize was, although I am African, I'm also American. So I did what any American would do, and I put my foot on the elevator, open that bitch up, and walk right in front of her. Everyone then begins to look up at me like, this monkey's bigger than I thought. She immediately begins to look down, continuing her customer service smile, and I begin to cuss her out. And I'm talking really cuss her out, like saying shit I ain't never said before. Like, do you know where I'm from? Did you put your hands on me? As soon as they heard that accent, that American accent, shit flips. Her coworker loses his shit. Hey, what floor did you want to go to? I said, hey, shut up your mouth. I'm not speaking to you right now. Push 3. And all of a sudden, this random man steps from the crowd and says, that is not us. That is not Italia. Everybody started talking about, that's not Italia. That's not Italia. That's not Italia. Oh, that shit had me hyped. I felt like Rosa Parks in that bitch.
So one thing that is obvious that we have spoken about time and time again on this channel is about how racist the Europeans are and how much it doesn't really get talked about as much as how it is in North America. So he just further proved that point by that video, because any black person at this point who doesn't know that it's even worse over there in Europe as compared to some other parts of the world, they have something different coming for them. So first of all, if you're a black person thinking about migrating to any of these countries, or even if it's just going there on vacation as a tourist, just to visit or whatever, bear that in mind and do your research as to where you should go and where you should probably avoid based on the kind of experience that black people generally have there. I feel like that's the smartest thing to do. If you're going to go somewhere either to visit or to live there, it makes sense for you to know what life there is like, especially for melanated people. So from his story, you could tell how direct that racism was. Like a woman actually pushing a man, a full-grown man, out of an elevator. The level of boldness, she didn't even think about if this man could actually respond in a violent way. She wasn't even covert about it. She did it in the full glare of everybody, knowing fully well that nobody was going to do anything or stand up for the guy, and nobody did. And there was no form of remorse until he spoke and they realized he was African American. Like, isn't that crazy? Anyway, before I let you guys know what I think about that whole scenario, I'm just going to go right ahead and play people's commentary about the situation.
But the thing that she didn't realize was, although I am African, I'm also American.
Ooh, I have been waiting to talk about something like this, and ooh, he's not wrong. First, let me say I have lived in Germany for nearly 6 months altogether, and I can thankfully say I have not experienced anything truly crazy in all of my time here. But when speaking to friends who are Afro-German or are African immigrants, you would have a completely different idea of what it's like living here. And this is coming from someone who doesn't stay in American circles necessarily, so do not get it twisted. I will say there are other factors that can also impact your experience, even as an American, like knowing the language and understanding cultural norms. But even when I'm traveling around Europe, I've noticed a certain level of, let's call it awe, around being American, especially choosing to visit certain places and cities when you are Black and American.
Have an experience level 9.
I want to respond to this travel story with my own weird travel story, and it's not in Italy. It was actually in Morocco. So let me take you back. It was around 2018. I was traveling for 3 months throughout Europe. I decided to volunteer at a hostel after, and I went to Fez, Morocco. I volunteered at a hostel there. I was there for about 7 weeks. I, one weekend, decided to go to, I think it's called Tamarat, and it's like a beach area. I was meeting up with some friends there, and I was going to take the train. So I went to the train station, and I was waiting for the train, and I was kind of confused about where you bought more stuff that you might need before the train, like snacks. And so I basically went up to this security dude, and I was like, oh, hey, is it cool if I go and buy snacks, like come back into this area? And he looked at me up and down, and he was like, do you have drugs on you? And I was like, no, why would you? Why? and then he was like, okay, well, let's see. So he pulled me aside with another guard, took me into this side room, had me sit down, and he was like, I'm gonna need you to tell me the truth. And I was like, I don't have anything. And then they searched all my pockets, searched my shoes. They found a little something, just few little nubs of like hashish. And I was like, oh my gosh, like not enough for a country. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? And they start looking at each other, talking. And mind you, at this point, I'm already like, oh, what is happening? What is happening? So they asked me my name, and then they checked my ID, and I had my passport with me. And as soon as they saw my passport, they were like, oh, here's your passport back. And I was like, okay, well. And they said, oh, tell Trump that we treated you nicely. Like, here's all your stuff back. Like, they gave me back the hashish, the wrapping papers, all the stuff. And then they just let me go. And this is the other side of what I'm saying is like the weirdness of being a Black American or a Black body at all while traveling. Like, I was in Morocco, which is Northern Africa. Definitely a different vibe than Western Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa. But being of the complexion I was there, I was searched for a particular reason. When they found the stuff on me, they checked my ID. And granted, maybe I could like sound really American, but when they checked my ID and they're like, oh, he's actually an American. Here you go, have a good day. And I mention this story as like the intersection of all these different privileges that Black Americans can experience. And I appreciate this creator for sharing their story.
So I did what any American would do.
This whole thing is so funny because the reason why there's the switch up, right, is because they want our money. They want our American US dollars. And they know that when Black Americans travel, we tend to spend. We spend here too, but, you know, we spend a lot. And they want that tourism money. They love American tourists because they love American tourism money. And so this video blowing up is exactly what they didn't want, and which is why they flip so easy when they hear the American accent, because they're trying to keep the money going. And now their tourism might drop because this is Italia. Like, that's literally most of Europe, honestly.
An experience level 9.
Okay, go check out that other video if you haven't already, but I totally agree. Racism comes in a lot of different faults. Level 9 racism is something I've seen pretty often traveling around the world. Saw it a lot in Paris and just in Europe in general. But in Asia, and today marking a year since I've been to Japan when I first arrived, they have a polite racism, It's like a different, energy to it. It's a different way to, to annoy you, to really come at under your skin. It's psychological racism, because nobody is treating you like they really want to treat you. Or that's what I thought. Because when I interacted with people, it always seemed like they never said what was on their mind. They always had this mask on. And it's a mask of like non-emotion. It's like, all right, we're going to interact with you in a polite way, but I don't really mess with you like that. But I know that you're a foreigner and you're here on maybe tourist reasons or whatever. So they'll help you. But some people, if they really don't like you, they will pretend like, they can't speak any English. And sometimes they can. But since I spoke some Japanese, I'd ask in Japanese and they'd be like, oh, really? You speak Japanese? Why do you speak Japanese? Why? And they would have to help you and they'd be obligated to help you. So they would help you, not really wanting to help you. And then if they didn't really know the answer, they would try to dump you off at someone else. And that person would have to help you. And that person could actually generally want to help you, or they could not want to help you either. So it would be like a game of passing you along to somebody until you got your answer solved, so the other person could be relieved of their duty of helping the foreigner. And this is just one example of stealthy racism, of like getting out of situations. I think another one was just generally like on the subway system, you just sit down and you just have like gaijin powers, which is like foreigner in Japanese. When you sit down next to a Japanese person, they immediately get up. They're like, nah. And this happens sometimes to white foreigners, but I think it's pretty often for black foreigners, where they just like, no, we're not messing with that. We're going to get out. And I saw this a lot in convenience stores. I would just walk in to like, just an aisle. The person would immediately dart out. I'm like, and getting some seaweed or whatever. I dip out. I look back. They immediately come back in saying like, oh, thank the Lord, he's gone. And I'm just like, all right, it's stealthy. It's stealthy. Another common occurrence is them asking you, when are you leaving? And this is code for, why are you here? And when are you going to leave? Because you shouldn't be here. You don't fit the mode. This is a homogenous country. You're breaking the cohesion. So I got that a lot, usually from the older generation, or from the younger generation. I got people that look exactly like me. Had my dread, had my braids, had the entire aesthetic, looking like they're from the East Coast, from Chicago or something. I remember I posted on this video on my page of like this dude throwing up GD, which is like a gang sign, and I was just like, this is real weird. Because I was the only black person in that club, or typically black person in that club, and everyone was just like, it's the guy, it's the representative of black people here, and they just appropriating black culture. They got J-rap going on, they got dreadlocks fully out, they got the entire aesthetic on, and everyone's just trying to interact with me like, can you rap? Can you freestyle? Can you dance? And like when I confirm any of their bias, they're like, wow, it's just like on the TV. He's really that guy. They really do those things. We're doing it to a T. It's pretty strange. But it comes from an ignorance, but it's also like a racism that's just like, we are people, we're individuals that exist in not these predetermined 2D figures that you see on TV. Like we exist, we do things outside of what you see in social media and stuff, but they don't really see that. It was a strange occurrence. But one thing I was safe, I was chill. But yeah, racism in Japan was strange.
What any American would do. And
that story is hilarious because he said two things. He said, although I am African, I'm also American. So I just feel like, again, it's reiterating the fact that black people from all countries and continents, that we need to come together, because once they heard that he was American, they know that we will cut up. They know black Americans will cut up. Because ain't no way we paid our good money to be treated racist in another country. We'll clear that. So we just all need to hang together, because if African people get treated poorly in Europe, but African Americans get treated Well, they don't know which one is which until you open your mouth. So I need for them to be a little bit more cautious with how they treat my people, my black people, and us Americans, not black Americans, I know where we came from, don't matter, because they know that if this accent come out of my mouth and you cut up, we're going to have a problem.
Level 9 advanced racism.
Oh my god, I've been waiting to tell my story. So picture it. It's 2019, me and my good sister in Italy visiting because we're studying abroad, right? So we're like, let's take a quick weekend trip to Italy because it's Italy. So we hit up Venice, which is pretty cool, but then we reach Florence. When I tell y'all, I have never, ever experienced racism before. Like that kind of racism before. Me and her are walking down an alley. Not a dark alley, well lit, middle of the day, like, you know. And as this white woman approaches us and passes, she clutches her purse. It was so random and so loudly abrupt, it scared us. So then we jumped. And I'm like, did this woman think I was gonna rob her? And then no one moved for us on the sidewalk. Like, we'd be walking and they expected us to go around them. I'm sorry, am I in the 1970s? I'll never recommend a black person go to Florence ever.
So now, judging by these stitches that I've played and the comment section of this guy's video, a lot of people have said that this has been their experience as well. First of all, they have experienced a lot of racism in European countries. And second of all, if they were American, the moment they responded with their very obvious American accents, they tend to be a switch up in the way that they are treated. And then in the comment section as well, you see some Africans talking about how this is what they face in these countries. And there's no switch up for the Africans. There's no switch up on how they are treated based up on their accent. So there's definitely something about being American that seems to scare or intimidate these people. And that's what I want us to talk about in this video. So for me, this video points out two things. Number one is the fact that they cannot even tell the difference between us. They cannot tell the difference between African Americans, African people, Caribbean people. We are all the same. Every black woman is Beyonce to these people, if you ask me. And it is funny because I see a lot of videos where I actually have seen more African Americans than Africans actually saying that we don't look alike, we look nothing alike, we don't have the same heritage. But yeah, you might think that way, but to these other people, we look alike. And in my opinion, we actually do look alike. I know a lot of African Americans that look like someone that I know back home here in Nigeria. But anyway, so this is why we're not coming together, we're not ending the diaspora wars, we're not sticking up for each other. It doesn't make sense to me because we are all the same, especially in the eyes of people that are not us. And we're going to get similar treatments, similar stereotypes, and stuff like that. Then the second thing that this video actually points out to me is the fact that there is a privilege, there is an advantage to being American that even black Americans enjoy. So our African American brothers and sisters have a certain kind of leg up as compared to African people when they travel to countries where people think and act like this. So we are all the same to them, like all black people are all the same until they find out that you are from America and then they treat you a little bit better. So it makes me wonder why. And I've been thinking about this, like, what is the reason? And I want you guys to let me know in the comments, because to me, I'm thinking number one, it's either because they have so much fear and respect or reverence for America. America has been sold to the rest of the world as the greatest country in the world. So maybe they are scared of getting on the wrong side of Americans. Nobody wants to make an enemy out of America. That is my first reason. The second reason that I'm contemplating is, could it be, just as this other lady said, because of the fact that Americans come, and when they come as tourists, they spend more. So is it about the business and what the American tourists can contribute to their economy? Because they would definitely not want to get on the wrong side of Americans if Americans are actually coming into their country as tourists and making them a whole lot of money. So is it from the business side? And then my third reason, which I am contemplating, is it because they know that African Americans really do not tolerate racism? Now, I'm not saying Africans or Caribbeans tolerate it, but if we're to be sincere, African Americans are very direct and have very low tolerance for racism. They will call it out. They will cancel you as a whole country, you guys, so much so that they will feel the heat. African Americans, this is one thing that I actually admire about them, the way they face racism head on. Now, for other black folks, we Africans, maybe Caribbeans as well, I think because our case is a little more different, we are actually from majority black countries, so most of us may not even know how to deal with racism, and I dare say some of us don't even know how to recognize when people are being racist towards us. I'm not gonna lie. Except maybe it is blatant, obvious racism. The little microaggressions or current behavior might not easily be picked up by an African as it would be picked up by an African American. So sometimes we don't even know that, okay, that thing that person did was racist, or they did it to me because I was black. And also for Africans, when we are in these foreign countries, we tend to want to abide by the law. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. We don't want to offend anybody, mostly because we feel like we can be deported. So sometimes people might even flat out trample on our rights when we are in these foreign countries, and we don't even know how to go about it because the system back home is so different. We've never really had that much experience with standing up against racism, and we are still in the process of learning. So as compared to our African American brothers that have had the civil rights movement, that are still battling racism, canceling people, calling people out, basically fighting for their rights every day, and definitely they are making progress. So it is very different, and obviously these people know it, so they know that they cannot mess with African Americans, and they can probably get away with some things with Africans. Now, I don't mean this as a form of disrespect to my African people, but this is something that I have observed, and if we are to be sincere to ourselves, we know that a typical African born and bred in Africa might let a lot of things slide when they go to these foreign countries, probably because they don't even know that they are being racist to them, and they don't even know what to do even when they know that they are being racist. And actually, in some of the videos that I've covered on this channel, this point that I'm trying to make is evident, just like in this video where an American Zulu woman, she's basically American, she was visiting South Africa, and then an elderly palm-colored woman in South Africa did something to her, and she bitch slapped the woman. Now, South Africans, the black South Africans, were scolding her for actually hitting an elderly person. They didn't care if it was a palm-colored woman or not. But the African Americans who stitched her video, even from the comment section of my YouTube video, a lot of the African Americans were like, they don't care if she's an elderly woman or not. She asked for it and she got what she wanted by acting crazy and disrespecting the black woman. So black people in America have a different way of reacting to racism. They don't care if you're old, they don't care if you're sick. If you act stupid, if you F around, you are going to find out with them. But Africans we might be thinking of culture, or trying to be nice, or looking at your age, or just for different reasons we might brush off racism and not tackle it head on. So now, out of all these reasons, which one do you guys think is the actual reason why whenever these racist people in these European countries see an African American, they tend to clean up their act as opposed to if it's an African person? I would like to know what you guys think in the comment section. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.